All right, what's up, beautiful people? On today's podcast, I got my buddy Bruno back on here. Oh yes, good times. But we got a little bit of a serious topic today because we're going to be talking about dealing with the death of an athlete as an athletic trainer, which this guy had to go through it last year. So we're going to basically talk about kind of going through that and his experience with it and kind of how he managed it. All right?
Sure.
Nice. All right, so stay tuned, listen, and enjoy.
Welcome to the Eli Kassab Experience.
All right, so we're going to be talking about, Bruno's experience through having an athlete pass away on him last year, specifically in the athletic training profession, which for those of you that don't know what it is, athletic training, we are healthcare providers where we treat and rehabilitate injuries, as well as implement like preventative measures for injuries. So we work a lot with athletes on a daily basis and become very close with them. And so this is something that we all definitely don't want to experience. Sure. And so this guy went through it last year, and I figured it'd be a good topic to kind of discuss and sort of pick your brain and see what, kind of what the process was like and what you went through and stuff. And, I haven't had to deal with it, but like this was last year, right?
Yeah, it was just about a year ago.
Okay. And then it was with, what sports do you work with?
So I work with football, and last year I did football and women's basketball. This year I'm doing football and women's golf.
Okay. Okay, nice. And it was one of your football athletes.
Yep.
Okay. And was it I guess start with kind of like, what was it expected? Was it unexpected type of thing?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely unexpected. It was just the start of spring practice, and
yeah,
it was kind of as most people know, if the first day of spring practice, you're not full contact, your helmets, you're just starting out. So we had a athlete that had an episode of basically cramping. That's what it seemed like. We didn't really understand why. Mm-hmm. He felt okay for the most part. Was again full body cramps was the biggest concern. Had his fiance with him, so she was there in the training room. Talked her through it, and basically said, as tried to continually hydrate, move around, and see what we can do. If this progresses, let me know ASAP. And as they left the training room, he was with her. I called the doc and said, "Hey, this is kind of odd a little bit. Mm-hmm. We didn't really do that much to be in full body cramps." So the next phone call I got was his girlfriend saying, "Hey, something's gotten worse. We got a serious problem," and they called the EMTs. As I'm talking to her and trying to help the situation as best I can, she said the EMTs got here, talked to him. So I had the experience of talking to the EMTs over the phone and kind of describing what I saw ahead of time, what I saw on the field, what his history was before they transport him to the ER, essentially. And at that time, I'm calling the docs, throwing my clothes on. I think I was just getting home at that time, getting my stuff together before I head over to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Once we got to the hospital, it was kind of chaotic. As most of you know, the ER is kind of the ER doc owns that. So you're trying to help out but stay out of the way, and it gets really, really difficult. So there's a lot of emotions running. There's people, getting upset and angered over it, and you're trying to situate and work that out as best you can. At the same time, trying to help the family out. Most people know we work in college sports. High school is phenomenal because family's right there, and that's a huge support, huge help. With college, a lot of these athletes come from different locations, and pros as well. So they're not maybe from there. Their parents are not that close, family. So that was also a barrier. So trying to do right by their family and take care of them on that side, as well as help them out on the medical side. Then kind of a whirlwind of trying to figure out what's the next scenario, kind of sit and wait. And then the next thing was at the ICU, and we were at the ICU. He was unresponsive, so didn't really get to talk to him at all. But we were in the ICU for about almost a week. It was about 4 days. I'd say 2 days, 2 days.
Yeah.
Maybe less. Again, you kind of get everything kind of gets jumbled together. But I think the parents were notified right away. They hopped on the flight as soon as they could. To get there was about 8 hours for them to fly and be able to get everybody and get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just the rest of my job was just support the docs, support the nurses, support the family. And then another concern is to support the team, right? You have 100 guys, one of their teammates, their family, their brothers is in, a bad shape. And how do you delegate, how do you separate that, help them out, as well as the coaches? You have another 10 guys there. They're there to support the players, but they need to support themselves because they don't know what's going on. That's something they care about. And mitigating those and trying to assist those. So those are all different facets of, what do? You get the family, you get the docs, you got the coaches, you get the players, and then you got your staff. so
there's a lot more involved than.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces all at the same time. So that was basically the whole thing. He never woke up, essentially. Family was phenomenal, and it was a whirlwind experience and something I'll never forget, but always hold dear to my heart for sure.
Man, that's crazy. And so what was it, when you're trying to say, like, what was it like trying to support, the team, the coaches, the families, and then, how did you manage to support yourself at the same time when you're trying to look out for so many other people, I guess during the whole event, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's always hard when you're managing so many different things. And so, like, I don't know, what were some of the things, and whatever you're comfortable sharing, what were some of the things that you did, I guess, that were kind of helped you manage yourself?
You
know what I mean?
No, that's a good question because I haven't thought of it, to be honest with you.
Well, dang it.
No, that's it's good. And that's why when you said, hey, let's do this, I said, I might be good. I think I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing a lot of situations that happen.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer in life gives you these curveballs, but specifically because you can handle them. And not to say that you're superior than anybody else, but there's certain things and certain traits that I feel I was put on earth to go through and endure, I guess. Mm-hmm. As life continues, as you know, like I'm a faithful person. I believe in God, and I think that a lot of that helps these situations go forward. So that's the first thing, I guess, self-care is that ideology that I've been instilled with that I can get through it, through prayer. That's my belief, but through meditation, some people, I know I can get through it. So that's the first thing.
Right.
And then seeing what and who needs what. Some people really just needed a hug. They just need to sit there and just let it out.
Right.
A lot of them were just shocked. Again, like I said, completely unexpected. It's not something we foresaw. There's no screening we could have done. It was just, one of those things you say, act of God, right? An act of nature, like it just happened. So being there for the people that needed it. That was my first and foremost. When I found out, as soon as I found out, I one of the first people I needed to talk to was the other athletic trainer that works football. And I felt that had to be a face-to-face conversation. I'm learning, finding out this the next morning after I've been in the ICU and ER all night. I think I got home, showered, and ran over. And I texted him and said, hey, I got to meet with you before. Okay. We were going to a meeting. And I said, I got to meet with you before. He goes, okay. So I went over there, talked to one of our bosses and said, hey, I just need a space to talk to him. So he found a quick space. Go, come over here. We got your room. Kind of knew what's going on, but didn't know the full story. And then, so I talked to my staff, my staff, I own them, but we work together, right? Yeah. I'm not a believer and I'm superior to anybody else. So we all work together, but somebody needed to know the information, a part of our staff right there, our football staff. Mm-hmm. And we just closed the doors and just talked and kind of let it all out. So that was a moment that we needed to take a deep breath, allow me to think for a good 5-10 minutes, just quiet and process and what's the next step. So that was huge. Right. Taking a time back, a time out to talk to your staff and then be together because that's your core.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I did was talking to them. Then we went on, talked to the coaches, and the staff, and again, divulging the information that the family was okay with. So that was always being careful. Yeah,
of course.
This is private information. We're not out there just giving this information out, but pertinent information that people need to know. I mean, people are concerned, people are worried. How to mitigate. That was another thing that came up is having 100 players and staff. They all were going to bombard the ICU.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
let's manage that a little bit to give them some information that they feel that they don't need to run over there and be there for them. So that was kind of the next step was doing that. And from there, we, again, not just me, we were able to take care of the team, and we lean on each other's strengths as far as talking to players or talking who's more the emotional part that needs that support, who needs some facts, who needs some understanding. And luckily we have a great setup where we have, team psychologists and doctors, and everybody's there available to help with that situation. So it wasn't all on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, that was a long way to answer your question.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I think it's insightful. It's always, I think it's always good to, dive into that, because I think the details matter, especially for people that, I don't know, people that have gone through it. I think they appreciate just the details and what other people's thought processes were through it. And everyone handles it a little bit differently. So, I think it definitely helps. But what was it like talking to the parents? Were you the first one to talk to the parents?
So we're in a little bit of a predicament in the sense of our coaching staff just got changed.
Okay.
So we had the last coaching staff, none of the coaches stayed. So we had a full new coaching regime, essentially. So these coaches didn't recruit, or they're just getting to know these players, right? So, the way it planned out, I was the only one that knew these players and have met the family better than anybody else.
Gotcha. And how long, sorry to cut you off, how long did you know the athlete?
2 years.
Okay,
prior.
gotcha.
Yeah.
We're just, okay, cool.
So, so it's kind of an interesting, I guess it was a year and a half before, but it was kind of an interesting scenario where normally you have a coach that's recruited them, or they at least know them well enough, or know the parents have seen them.
Right.
But, the coaches got hired, I believe it was January, and spring football was right around, April, end of February. So it's been 2 months since they knew this, student athlete. So a lot of that fell on me because I already knew the family from previous games and getting to know them, and, different little injuries here and there. You talk to mom and dad and get to know them. It's just part of what we do in the healthcare part of it. Moms love their kids and they want to make sure they're in good hands. And I do my best to provide that care for them. Make mom and dad feel at ease that, they're in good hands, and I treat them like they're one of my kids.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was the first one. I was at the hospital when parents showed up. That was, like I said, that's something that's very, very particular to the situation. But the parents are that family's just a stud. Like, they're just awesome. His aunt actually lives in Vegas, so she showed up as soon as, 2-hour drive. She hopped in the car and she was there. So she was there a lot of the time through it. But the entire family, they're rock studs. It was just made my job a lot easier.
Gotcha.
I still remember Dad, Mom walking in the hallway, coming into the ICU, and Dad's shaking everybody's hand and asking, how can I help? What can I do? And giving everybody hugs. I'm like, go see your son.
Yeah.
But that's just the people they are.
Yeah, I got you.
They're just phenomenal. So you really felt like, and hopefully they were able to feel like, I'm doing everything I possibly can to help.
Right.
And I think they were able to see that, and they're just, like I said, a unique situation because not everybody's able to do that.
For sure.
But the family was phenomenal. Always care about them. Till this day we still shoot text.
Yeah, that's great.
How they're doing? How's everybody going? So
came in asking everybody, what can I do to help? It's like, we should be the ones helping you.
It's like traumatic situation.
Awesome,
that's the first thing they think of is the people helping, right?
Yeah.
It's just good people.
Yeah, that's really cool. I definitely it makes situations easier, right? When you got families or parents like that, because then it can go the other way very easily, whether it's depending on the injury or illness that's going on. Yeah. So, man, that's crazy. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So the family was super supportive.
Super supportive. They're a great family, and we're able to make some tough decisions. Try to understand what's the best for them. And again, my role there was being being supportive wherever I can. Try to, new town, they probably haven't been here, and like, where do we go, what to do. They're, like I said, really concerned with the team. They wanted to talk to the team, make sure the players are okay.
Gotcha.
And that they were there to support them as they go through this struggle as a family. Little stuff like that was phenomenal. Like I said, unique situation. As far as an athletic trainer, I know the support system we have. There's
AT Care.
AT Care. Phenomenal organization. And I know they reached out. They talked to Kelby specifically and say, hey, you talk to Bruno, and Kelby's the head athletic trainer. But when you talk, at that moment in time, I was doing okay. So I didn't get the chance to talk to him, and still they're seeing this. Call me, it's fine. I'll talk. But we have that support system that's available for us to deal with some of these things. But because of the unique situation, meaning the family's so supportive, the doctor's so supportive, and I felt like I didn't need that at that point in time. Like,
gotcha.
I was okay.
Yeah.
And I had the support with the family there. That I didn't need that outside support. If that makes any sense.
Right. Right. No, it does. So, and that's something that I didn't even know. Honestly, I didn't know about AT's Care about it until last year. So, like, for those of you that don't know, like, AT's Care is just, it's there to support like athletic trainers in these kind of events, and they'll always reach out and come talk to you and the team and stuff. And I had no idea that it was even a thing until it came up with you last year, and then you're like AT's Care, and I was like, what is that? And then you kind of told me about it. So that is an option if people.
A little bit about them. I don't know too much. Like I said, I didn't.
Yeah.
Dive, but essentially, it's a network of athletic trainers that are throughout the country, and their specific task is, as they see these red flags, is to reach out a hand. So they'll call you on your cell phone from their cell phone and say, hey, I've been through this. And a lot of them, that's how they get into it, is they've been through it. And so they're reaching out as support of like,
gotcha.
You're not alone. Like, I've been through the situation. How can I help? So it's pretty specific to situation you're running into, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Death of the athlete. So there's certain people that have been through that.
Yep.
And so they reach out like, hey, I've been through it. If if we want to talk, we can talk and work stuff out. So I'm assuming with different situations, it'll be something different,
Right.
Perhaps suicide or something different. They may be a different person reaching out, which I think is phenomenal. And usually somebody, again, like I said, been through it, has been in a profession for a while, had, that support given to them. So they want to support and give that out. So that's a phenomenal organization. Again, I've heard about it before, but never seen its effects that quickly. I mean, it was literally days, man. Like, they gave a phone call, like, boom. I was like,
pretty on the spot.
Like, oh, okay.
And you didn't, that's not something like you reached out to them and submitted anything. They reached out to you. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, they knew somebody who knew somebody who called. And then the phone call, hey, just so you know, Bruno, like, it's available. And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
That was cool opportunities to see that come to play, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, it does. It does. And, I know I was talking to, as an athletic trainer, mentioned that they kind of went through a similar situation, and the AT's Care came and spoke to the school, and then came and spoke to the individual, and they found it really helpful. But like you said, you didn't feel like you needed it at the time, because then you had the support system of the family and everybody around you. And what were some of the other, I guess, in outside of the support system, I guess, like, just as far as your work goes, your clinical practices, did they change? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did you come back from that? Again, like, I can't relate to it, but like, so when you're back out onto the field and like covering practice and stuff, like, and when athletes come to you with certain injuries or illnesses and stuff, how has that like changed? If it's changed, so how you kind of tackle things, does it make you a little bit more cautious?
No, great question. So,
you know what I mean?
After, we're kind of going into the end stages here, right? So after everything's said and done,
Right.
parents flew home, everything, people are kind of going on and trying to move on as best they can. I sat with our team physician.
Okay.
And kind of sat down and kind of try to break down. And we
Okay.
kind of broke down the situation, the ins and outs. Of course, private information, can't really share that. But we're kind of going through and breaking down, kind of debriefing, essentially. And the biggest question, of course, you have, and every athletic trainer will have, is I'm going to doc. What could I have done different? Like, what could I have done better?
Right.
Everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
And with any different spectrum, but something like this, like it really, and not to say it haunts you, but they're definitely at night thinking about it. I'll be
Like,
lying
what
to
could
say,
you have done differently?
as much as I say I was good, like you stay up at night and you're literally thinking about it. Like, what could I have done? Like, what signs did I miss? What could I have done to help the situation? Like what? And to sit with Doc and go over it, and Doc looks at me. He goes, "Man, like you did everything right. If anything would be different, we'd be doing it wrong. If you decide to change something, you're doing it wrong." And consistent. I mean, I had a conversation with, I would say, Doc probably 3 times throughout the space of a month. Like, are you sure? Like, he's like,
Right.
"Oh, look at some stuff, but you did the right thing. Like, you did what you're supposed to do. You're seeing that scenario. You're helping out. You're releasing them to somebody that they know. How did you release? Like, what? Because you always think like, what should I call the ambulance every single time? There's body cramps.
Right.
He's like, no. I'm like, whoa. So you
Pump
go
the
through these
brakes.
scenarios. So as far as my clinical practice, it hasn't changed, but it's good to have that reaffirmation. Like, you did what the steps that were correct.
Okay.
Continue in that route, and it's good to see, somebody else. And it's always kind of humbling, but to see multiple docs, right? Because you have our team physician reviewing it, but he's looking at charts from the ER doc and the ICU doc, and all these guys that see the situation, get the history, and develop a idea of what should have been done, and the report's essentially saying like, you did everything right, like you did what you're supposed to do. That's phenomenal. Now, Doc could be lying to me. I don't know. But
Just to make you feel better. Yeah.
Doc, if you are, like, that's messed up, be honest.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
So for my clinical practice, nothing essentially changed. But every time somebody cramps, it does bring, like, you remember it. That's visibly like,
Right.
whoa. Like, so it makes you check yourself. But it hasn't really changed, if that makes any sense.
Okay. I got you. No, that makes sense. And that's always, I mean, I guess, I don't know, it's always reassuring, when you kind of go through something like that where it's not, there's nothing at fault, like nothing you could have done different. But then I don't, like, does that also make it, like, is it one of those things where I know it's good that you didn't do anything, like there was nothing that you could have done different, but in a way, was that a bad thing in a way?
Oh, 100%.
Because, like, then is it like a feeling where you're like, man, if there was just one thing I could have done like different, like, because it feels kind of out of your hands, maybe, like, did you kind of feel that, or?
And like I said, this is some raw footage, man. Like, because, being real, like, literally, I'm sitting with Doc and I said, like, tell me I did something wrong, like, please. Those are literally what I said to Doc. Like, tell me,
Right, just so
like,
you can take some
so
sort
I know
of.
what I could have done better. Like, we could have fixed it. We could have solved this.
I got
Like,
you.
put it on me.
I
He's like,
gotcha.
no, like, but you feel that way, 100%. Like, you feel like, just if I can take some blame or it's my fault, I'll just quit what I'm doing. It's fine. Like, at least we'll
Yeah.
have a peace of mind of what happened. And I had a conversation with Doc, and then I had a conversation with Mom. And like, I wish I could, that's literally what I said. And that's probably the first time that I was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
But having that conversation with Mom, she gives me a big hug, and I
Nice.
that was hard, but I just literally said that to Mom. I said, I wish I could have done more. She gave me a big hug. Like, oh no, like, it's in the Lord's hands. That's what she kept saying. Like, it's in the Lord's hands.
Crazy.
You're fine. And I was like,
Man.
so that was, again, raw footage, right? Like, this is the real situation. You want to blame yourself because it's easier.
Right.
That's the honest truth.
I gotcha.
You want to blame yourself because it gives you, this is what happened. These situations where there's no real answer. It's tough, man.
Yeah, and that feeling of like there's nothing that, like, feeling of no control over it.
Yeah.
Where you're like, Yeah, I couldn't have done anything, which is the sole purpose of your job, is to keep the athletes healthy and safe.
You always have an
and
answer.
on the field, and you're always like,
You always have an answer,
here's
right?
the answer, here's the plan, here's, and so that's tough,
Yeah.
man. This is, by the way, this is like, there was no like real like outline or game plan to this. And this is the first time he's coming out in public about this. So this is like, when he's saying raw footage, this is straight like raw footage. Like, me and Bruno, we've been best friends for a long time. And, we've talked about the situation, like just us two. And I know, we've, like had a lot of like discussions one-on-one, but never anything like public or kind of out there and stuff. So, make sure you guys, show this guy some love for putting it out there. But,
fine.
no, we appreciate it, man. Like, I think it's just good information for athletic trainers or even people just to kind of know, to have, to kind of go through and deal with. And I know for us, cause like our personality types, generally we're very, we're always like laughing and joking and having fun and being sarcastic and stuff. So I think it's going to be unique for people to kind of see a different side of, well, both of us really, that know us anyway. For people that don't know us, that's, that's how we are normally. So this is kind of a once in a, I want to say a once in a lifetime thing, but
very unusual.
Very unusual. Yeah. A better way of putting it.
Yeah. No, and when you mention it, it's like, hey, this might be a good idea. Something you went through. My initial response in my head is like, no, that's not something I want to talk about. Let's keep it in. But the principle and idea of like, hey, we could help somebody else out that may be going through it or wouldn't know what to do in this situation. As athletic trainers, we're always as your famous quote, right? If you only have one left, or you have none, right?
Yeah. You got one, you got none.
You always have to be prepared. You always have to be a step ahead of the curve. So if this allows, athletic trainers to at least process what they would do, how they would handle it, it's a huge advice I can give. Is run through these scenarios in your head of how I could respond and then what to do. Like I said, we luckily. We have a system built up where there's, like I said, there's two of us at football, right? Mm-hmm. That cover football. We have a sports psychologist. We have some team docs that can help. So when the situation happened, we have still, like I said, there's, however many runs in a football team, and there's one critical person. But having to a football and a staff of people to help, it was literally like, you handled that situation. Take care of them as best as you possibly can. We got you. So I was not concerned and not like I wasn't worried about them, but I was not concerned with any of my other guys. I knew they were in good hands. We had, the other football guy, and we had a staff of people that were there to support and help. Like I said, the team psychologist being available to talk to me, talk to them, to talk to anybody. If you're sitting at a facility or an institution right now, and you don't have that network, and something like this happens, and then you have to figure that out, you're behind the curve, right? Luckily, like I said, we've thought about this. We've gone through these possibilities of how to handle something. Again, you never think of this specific situation, but at least what will we do in this? And you see it, everything just work, just like clockwork, man. I mean, you got this, I got you, we're good.
Right.
I'll let you know if anything changes. Send me the information. The injury reports are in. The coach are taking care of. The players are still trying to get through practice as best they can. Coach, I think he canceled 2 of the practices. It was just hard. But, rehabs, there's still people hurt. There's still people getting out of surgeries. There's still stuff going on. And we can't forget that group of people as well. But having the staff and being able to let that happen, being there. And then, to be honest, one of the coolest things is, my boss, as you're going through this, you're just working. You're just working. I'm my head down. I come home, eat. I go back to the ICU. I'm over with the family. I'm taking, trying to support them. I'm talking to the dog and figuring out where can I help. And having my direct boss say, hey, like, go to sleep. And I'm like, no, like, it's the last thing you're thinking about, right? Like, bro, come on, man. That's the last thing I sleep. And he's like, no, seriously, like, we got it covered. I'll run over. We have people at the hospital. You go take 4 or 5 hours, get some rest. And be able to do that. Like it was, like I said, in our profession, self-care is really, really hard to do because you're so focused on other people.
Mm-hmm.
But having a group around you to say, like, take care of this, help with this, allows me to fully focus on that situation. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Having that support, and makes you think twice, if something happened to another athletic trainer, how can I support them?
Right.
Even if, high schools are by themselves, but you have local high schools around, like how can we support that athletic trainer to take care of that situation?
Mm-hmm.
That's, if it is covering there, we help each other out. That's kind of our job, but luckily we have that network, but being able to share this may, give somebody an idea of how do I set this up to get taken care of wherever I'm at. Because that's huge, that you have to have that network set up ahead of time, because you don't have time. It's a blink of an eye, and this stuff happens.
And so what would be, and I know you talked about, having a couple of you guys working football, the sports psychologists, and, a full staff, and like what was if there's, athletic trainers without necessarily, I guess, a support system. I'm not talking about like getting a support system in place, but let's say if they're at a school, university, I don't know, any tips for people that maybe don't have the same setup necessarily? Like some people might have a bigger staff and more resources and stuff, but any advice on getting that set up with people with less resources, if you've got any insight into that?
Yeah. So the resources for something like that, and I understand it's big, but being in the healthcare, people are very, very sympathetic and understanding. And what I'm saying is, you don't have to hire somebody full-time to be there 24/7 for this situation. But what you have to do is make some phone calls ahead of time to say, hey, if something like this were to happen, a local sports psychologist, somebody
right.
at the local, you
just
have to be working with either a clinic or a hospital. Somebody's going to, there's got to be a system somewhere, whether it's referrals, just reach out to them ahead of time. Say, hey, this situation were to happen, could I count on you for some support? Are you willing to support us as we go through that? And if not, find somebody else. There's plenty of people out there that are willing to drop whatever they're doing and support you 100%.
Yeah.
The physicians, psychologists, they're all there to care for people. So they know the situation, they know they'd be there. But making those phone calls and being literally that blunt, like, hey, if I had a situation where I had to be at the ICU all day because we're caring for a student athlete of some sorts, could I count on you to make some, come in and talk to the team and help us out?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they'll do it for free. It would be nice to be able to take care of them, pay them for the job they do, but
right.
at the end of the day, a lot of them are willing to do it. Because at the end of the day, we're in this profession to care for people. Bottom lines, all that stuff, that's management stuff, right? What we do is care for people, and most doctors are in the same way. Most psychologists in the same way. Most administrators are pretty much the same way. That's why they got into it, right? Not all of them, but most of them. Mm-hmm. And so I think just talking to them, having that blunt conversation, a lot of them like, oh yeah, what can we do to help? How can we help?
Right.
But having that ahead of time, because I know people would be willing to help at this drop of the hat, but you won't have time. You literally won't have time to do that.
Yeah, it happens when it goes down. It ramps up pretty quick, and you don't have time to kind of get all that stuff established.
Yeah. Talk to your ADs, talk to your team doctor. I'd say the first person is having this plan in place with your team physician, whoever that is, to, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what plan I have. How can you support me, or how can we work on this together to make sure if in the event this will happen, we have the support necessary. I'm sure. I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And if there's a person out there that doesn't want to do it, then there's bound to be somebody in town that would, you know what I mean? But I don't. Or
give Eli a call; he'll find someone.
Yeah, I got you. No, that's awesome. I think it's good stuff, man. I think that's good advice. I think it's good insight. I know that a lot of people will appreciate it. I know when I made a little announcement on Twitter about doing this podcast, we had some reactions from people on Twitter that kind of went through some similar situations, and so it seemed like it struck a chord with a couple of people anyway. And so I think it'll be good. I know it's like tough for you to share, and so I appreciate it, man. Yeah. It's good stuff.
No, for sure, man. If there's any more questions, let me know. I jump back on. I'll talk. I have no problem opening up about it. Like I said, the biggest thing for me was that family support. Hopefully, until this day, I think I did the best I could and did right by them. And that at the end, that's what matters. I think the university was unbelievably grateful. The hospital, I think, was grateful for all the things we did, and it really puts emphasis on what we do. A lot of people don't know 100% what we do, but these situations come down. You see people shocked at what we do and how much we invest in these student athletes and athletes.
Oh yeah,
and people. We care about them as individuals. So it's a sucky situation, but a lot of times it helps shed light on what we do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just I think people don't realize how much. We take care of the athletes in all forms and fashions, from everything, healthcare wise, safety. I mean, we see them every day, and then if you're in the college setting, then you deal with them for a lot of years, from kind of that 18 to 22, I guess, age, something like that. And then, so you kind of see them go from graduating high school to kind of being adulthood. And, of course, there's different settings with high school and different age groups and pro level and stuff. And guys get older and things like that. But I think college is, a little bit unique. But you do get attached, and you're very invested in, the profession. Yeah, I think it's growing, and I think a lot of people are starting to understand a little bit better what we do and what athletic trainers are there for, instead of just handing out water on the sideline or whatever. We're
and I don't mind handing out water.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
It's fine. Right. I'll help out with the hydration.
Yeah.
But I think people as they learn what we do and how involved we are, they see the difference between us and PTs, or us as a PA, or we have this special niche, specifically with sports, and it's really invaluable when you talk to families. You wish you could put a value or a cost to what we do, how we do it. That's the business side of it, which we talked about last time.
Yeah, we did on like the
one
of the episodes.
With situations like this, families really appreciate what you do, and it becomes an invaluable trait we have. And people see that niche. It's like you can't pin it, but you see the importance of it.
Yeah,
And the more we promote it and grow it, the better is the outcomes for the new new generation. Us old guys of athletic trainers. They come up and learn, and through these new bills passing, these new laws coming into place to make sure that we're in a situation that people understand what we do and why we do it. Unfortunately, these situations shed light in a lot of what we do.
That's awesome. Well said, my friend. Well said.
I'm a smart guy.
I'm not
at all. I'm just kidding.
I'm rubbing off on you. That's what's happening.
No, of course, man.
No.
Of course you say something like that.
Oh man. Well, shoot. I think we nailed everything.
Hopefully.
You feel? I think we got a lot of good stuff out there. Kind of talked about your beginning stages, kind of what you went through, and then kind of how you handle it afterwards, as well as some tips and tricks, I guess, not tricks necessarily, but just tips for afterwards for other people. But any other kind of last minute advice before we kind of wrap up here and close this episode and call it a wrap finally?
Like I said, the prevention is huge. Understanding ahead of time, preparing for it, and as it happens, is caring for the people that need care. The family, the athletes. Sometimes with the situation, you forget that there's more people that need help.
You get kind of tunnel vision and focus on.
So that's the second part of it. I would definitely take care of the other student athletes that are there, as well as coaches. They might put a brave face and you never hear coaches say, "I don't know what to say," but in a situation like this, they have no idea what to say. Be there to support them. Be there to give them advice on how to do it, what we do, and what can we say, what can't we say, suggestions, because they're just hurting just as bad as any other athletes. Right. They know how to call plays, they know how to get what we need it, but when it comes to medical situations, they don't know, and so be prepared to help them as well. And first and foremost, take care of yourself. Take some time to take a deep breath and understand your role in it, what you can do. And if you can't or it's hard, don't feel like you have to do it. There's people around to support you. Make some phone calls. Reach out. People that can walk you through these steps, confidentially, that we can help the situation as best we can to help you get through that, whatever situation that's going through. That's most important, because if you're going into it and you're not taking care of yourself, not sleeping, not be able to process information, it can get more chaotic. And although you're trying to help,
it can just magnify the
for
issues
sure.
at hand.
So that's kind of the three things I would say. That's all I got.
No, that's awesome, man. That's huge. No, I appreciate it. And then, hopefully no one has to go through this, but, if you guys do, just remember there's, again, kind of listening, to kind of Bruno's tips and tricks, on kind of what worked for him. And then, also, AT's Care, for those athletic trainers that are listening to the podcast, is another resource that can help out. Of course, if you guys have questions, we can reach out to me or Bruno. You can reach out to Bruno directly, or you can reach him.
Yeah.
I just kind of threw that out there. I'm volunteering
fine.
yourself.
It's fine.
So,
yeah.
But he's on social media somewhere.
I don't even know.
Or just reach out to me, let me know. And
if you would have told me ahead of time, I might have here's my social media stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll probably know, because you see my social media, so you know what the stuff is. I don't know them.
Just search Bruno Silva.
Yeah.
Athletic trainer. Athletic
There
trainer.
you
we go. No, or just DM me or reach out to me. I'm all over social, Twitter and everything. But let us know if you got questions. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this, and hopefully you learned a thing or two. And if you guys did, let us know, kind of what part of the podcast kind of stood out to you. And, if you went through this, don't feel free to kind of share or comment with your experiences, and, share the, episode or the podcast with anybody you think that might find it useful. At least that's either been through it or either going through it. Hopefully not, but if they are, maybe this is just something that can help, knowing that somebody else kind of went through a similar situation. And so, share it, let them know, and let them know that there's support out there, if they need it or if they want it. So I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks, man.
No problem. It's one of the more serious ones, but
I know it really is. It's kind of weird. We don't have not publicly. We'll have serious conversations on our own, but not publicly. So this is unique. But so I hope you guys do appreciate it. We're really trying to help people out, and we'll our next episode we'll do on another topic, and we'll promise we'll keep it lighthearted and bring some laughter in there for you guys.
But make sure, so real quick, if people have comments or additions or questions, reach out, and if we have to do another one and dig more deeply into it, situations.
Yeah. True.
Don't be afraid to ask.
True.
We can.
Yeah.
There's specific questions like, how'd you handle talking to this person or this person?
I got you.
That's
Good point.
fine. We can
point.
dive into that. But if we did that, it would be 5 days long. So
man.
let's see what questions we got, and we'll deal with it.
So we can go into more depth about this, is what Bruno was saying. So if you guys do got more questions for him, or you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of how he handles specific situations with certain people, like he was just saying, let us know. We can always do another one of these podcasts. So
it's easy, man. Just give me a call. We'll get together and do it.
Awesome. Love it. All right, guys.
We out.
We're out. Peace.